Hello everybody, welcome to the Sim Memphis channel and the first official video on the Sim Memphis channel. My name is Chase and I am the manager of the Sim Memphis 767 project, and today we're going to be bringing you a tutorial on the Flight Factor 757 V2 for X-Plane 11. Specifically, we are in the 757 freighter, and my objective today is to get you guys through powering it up initially. So we're starting completely cold and dark, just like you loaded it in. Completely cold and dark, and getting the power on, and then getting the engines cranked. So that's kind of our goal today. We'll get you through that. Now, a little disclaimer: I don't fly this jet. While I do work for an airline, this is not the jet I'm on. I love this airplane, but I don't fly it. So what I'm about to show you is not representative of any specific company's procedures. I don't know them, I've not been trained on them, so I can't speak to them. So this is purely a Sim Memphis method, and it reflects nothing on the company that I work for or any other company's specific procedures. This is, like I said, totally a Sim Memphis thing. We're going to follow the flight factor checklist pretty closely. I may do some things, some little simisms, some tricks and stuff. Like I said, these are all my own personal methodologies. Okay, so there we go. Disclaimer's over. Let's have some fun. So we are in Memphis and in the 757 freighter in FedEx livery, because that's appropriate. And I just want to show you really quick. Now this is just, we pulled it up, and this is right off the start. So I've not done anything to the aircraft. Only thing here is I've changed the settings to use the PIP FMC instead of the original. This is a personal preference, so I don't have to keep looking in the book to get the V speeds and other numbers like that. Totally personal preference. I used to look up the book numbers, got kind of tired of that, so I switched to the PIP FMC. You just have to do this before you load the aircraft, not like load into the game, but put fuel and passengers or freight or whatever on board. So just keep that in mind. Now, we've got, I just want to show you this screen. We've got stairs, chocks, GPU, fuel truck, loader unit. Those things are hooked up to the aircraft. I'll go ahead and do that. I'm not going to load it yet. I'll kind of be realistic about that, sort of. But I just wanted to show you the configuration I got it in right now. Alright, so we just got to the aircraft, so what we're going to do is power it on. Well, let's stick to what I was going to say. Let's pull our checklist to make sure we do it right. I don't want to teach any bad techniques. Alright, so we've got, go to the Amplify checklist. That'll help us out to know specifically. And just as I was about to say, we'll turn the battery on. Go ahead and close that gate, and the standby power will come to the auto mode. Alright, and then we're supposed to establish electrical power, so we can grab the external power, make sure the bus ties are closed. We'll go ahead and close the utility buses and turn on the left and right generators. Okay, so we've established that. Bus ties, APU selector, start. Well, we won't do the start of the APU right now because we've got ground power, so we're not going to burn gas and start the APU. Alright, so power up checklist complete, preliminary pre-flight checklist. So we'll go ahead and get our IRSs aligning. So we'll give these each 2 clicks over to the nav position. That'll start the alignment process. And then status display checked. Make sure we got all the expected messages. So these things, just a quick glance, make sure that that looks right. We'll pull up the status display by clicking this guy here. And we can zoom in and see, you know, we would be looking at oxygen pressure, make sure that's enough pressure, it's within the limits that it's supposed to be in, oil quantity, those types of things. Again, you know, if you're a real pilot on this aircraft, you're going to be taught what values you're looking for there. So that's not really that important right now for us, but if you were really flying it, of course, you'd be checking that. So verified quantities, so we're looking at oxygen pressure, like I said, hydraulic quantity, engine oil quantity, those things are listed there. So preliminary pre-flight checklist complete. Now we can do the CDU pre-flight. I'm going to go through this really quickly. We'll do another video on the CDU because there's lots of things that you can do in here, and I'm just not going to take the time right now to to worry about that. Let's just give it something. Let's just say we're going to, let's just do Birmingham, and we'll give it a flight number, FedEx 455. I don't know if that's anywhere close to the right flight number. It doesn't matter. And I don't have anything close to a route that I would want to put in there. I'm not going to even embarrass myself that way, but you would load all that in. What I will do is we'll give it a runway. Let's just say 18 center. I'm going to execute that. That'll help us with the perf page. So initial data set, like I said, you do all the route setup and stuff in here. You pick your departure, then you could go to route, and then the departure would be there, and you could fill out the rest, and then put in the arrival along with the approach. Again, not really worried about that right now. We'll do a whole video on this. So nav data, we've verified the models, all that is correct. That was on the first page. Time is correct, present position. All right. Route, we'll say that that's done. Runway routing, select. Okay. All right. So performance data. So let's go ahead and get this guy loaded. So we'll need to make sure these doors are open, and we can. I'm happy with this. Like I said, I'm not going to mess with that too much. So we're going to load that guy up. And let's see. So we'll need to, of course, fill out the rest of that. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the overhead. There's some things that are not configured that would have been configured already prior to getting in here. So let's just go ahead, and this is where I'm going to kind of go off the script and kind of do my own thing. So I'm going to go ahead and arm these. I like to go ahead and just turn the engine limiters on as well. We don't need the fuel pumps. Oh, let's get this. We'll go to auto here. Put those in auto. We don't need the fuel pumps right now. You can see they're loading the fuel. No anti-ice wiper, of course, no. These would probably already be on. Don't need window heat at this time. Nothing to do there. These, whatever you want to do. We're flying a freighter. These aren't even installed most of the time. What we'll do is we will take this to the landing altitude. So, I don't know. I can't remember what Birmingham is. It doesn't matter. We'll just give it some value. This is going to be the field elevation MSL of wherever you're going. Go ahead and put this to auto 1. And we'll get these configured. Again, nobody would ever mess with these and turn them all the way to off unless it was coming out of maintenance or something, maybe. So we'll go to auto there. You can turn these on. That's not a problem. Packs to auto, again, not a problem. There's no source for them right now. I guess we could hook up the AC, like a air conditioning unit, but it's not a big deal. So now we just kind of play the waiting game on all that. So while we wait for that, I will say that if there's any content that you guys want to see, Connor and I do on this channel, please let us know. We'll be happy to create that for you. We plan to do some flights in the 7.3 sim and some build updates on the 7.6 sim that we're doing. So we'll be happy to bring any of that to you. Objective would be to remake some of these tutorials inside our sims. Next on the list, really, that we have is to do a 7.3 tutorial in the sim, in the 7.3 sim. So we'll get that to you pretty quickly, hopefully. But yeah, if there's any kind of content you want to see, if you want to see us fly one of the sims from A to B, you can tell us where to go, and we'll be happy to make that for you. If you haven't already seen it, you should check out our DFW, our Memphis to DFW flight in the 7.3 sim. There are some errors in there. I'll just chalk that up to I wasn't working at a 121 at the time, so some of the important details, but things I didn't know, show up, and you can see that I clearly didn't know what I was doing sometimes. But that's a reflection of me in the past. Now I know more, so there are some errors, but that's okay. I mean, we're here to have fun. This is not a job. This is a hobby, and we enjoy it. So, like I said, let us know if there's anything that you want to see, and we'll be happy to do that. Let me go ahead and get the EECs on. Those are not going to be messed with either. Those are typically going to be already in the normal position. What we can do is pressurize the left and right engine. Let me rephrase that. They're not pressurized because the engines aren't turning. We can select the switch to on. Yeah, because the engines aren't turning, so they're not going to pressurize. We won't pressurize the hydraulics because ground crew's out there working around, and that's not proper technique. It's also dangerous. Kill somebody. So if you just click this, it'll throw in the value. Again, not a big deal. Reserve value could be about 3,000 pounds. This would come off your release. Don't worry about that. I mean, worry about it, but don't copy me here. That's just a arbitrary number. Let's just say that we're going to do 19,000 today. Cost index 89. This is just how fast we're going to fly, basically. Cost of fuel versus cost of time. Flaps, we'll do a flaps 5 departure. We'll give it a 60-degree derate. That just saves some engine wear and tear. We don't need all the power she's got. CG, this is again from the weight and balance info on here. If you just click it, it'll drag that guy in there, so you don't have to worry about it. And reference speeds, we'll turn that on. So now we got some speeds. Initialize that. Good deal. So that's pretty much done. Let's make sure we verify that with the checklist. Performance data is set. Zero fuel weight entered. Fuel on the CDU. We verified that. We would verify that. We'd look here, make sure those two match and that they match what we wanted on the release. Fuel sufficient for flight. Yep. And view speeds are set. So CDU pre-flight checklist complete. Pre-flight controlling. So let's see. Already done some of this, I think. Yep. So yaw damper switches. Let's do this. Yaw damper switches. Make sure those guys are on. EECs are on. System pressure lights check. Yep. So we got all the pressure lights that we expect. And some other stuff is already done. Again, some of this is redundant. APU generator switch on. So this guy would come on. Generator control, that's already done. Okay. So now we are getting ready to push out of here. So we will start the APU. So I'm going to come to on, kind of let it run its self-test here. And then I'm going to, and the real switch is spring loaded, so it'll sit here for a second and then it'll automatically kick back. I found that I have to kind of leave it on the start for a little bit to make sure that it's actually starting. I've kicked it back too early. Like I said, normal switch is spring loaded, it's a little bit easier to deal with, but so yep, I can hear it getting going, and we can verify that right there on the status page. Yep, so RPM's coming up. Good. So passenger oxygen on light verifies extinguished. Yep. Because if you push that, you're going to drop the masks in the back. All right. And no ram air turbine issues. Wing light switch as needed. We don't need it. Window heat. Okay, so go ahead, and I suppose we can go ahead and get the window heat on. They want these switches in auto. That's fine. Whatever, we're flying the freighter anyway. Auto rate control set, landing altitude set, we'll say we did it. These should all be auto. Okay, why didn't it like that? Let's see. It didn't like that for some reason. It is in the auto position. Forward cabin temperature controls. Okay. Yeah. That guy is in auto. Just doesn't like it, so we'll just say perform that for me, even though I've already done it, just to get off my back on that one. Okay, flight director switch on. Make sure this is in the auto position. It didn't flip-flop to auto. That's okay. We'll just verify that a little bit. Oxygen test, so we can do that right here. Okay, and the crew oxygen, we're good with the pressure. We've already checked that. Blandishment's checked. Okay, yeah, we'll make sure the altimeter is right and all those sorts of things. Auto land status. We can check that. Yeah, okay. And like I said, all this stuff is already sort of done. Like the alternate flaps right there. Upper ICAS display, check, nothing is showing up that shouldn't be there. Secondary engine indications, we can check those. Okay, nothing weird there. Status display, I'll select it. Computer selector will go to auto. That's this middle guy on this first knob. Decision height selector check. And what we would do there is, let's go up a little bit. What we would do there is just kind of make sure that we can twist the decision height and it's showing up what we want on there. Not a huge deal. While I'm down here, I will go to the plan mode in there. Actually, I like the map mode, so that's why now it'll actually allow us to switch it to auto. Because before we were in a mode, ILS, that will not allow it to work in the automatic mode. Cool. Train switch. So again, that's on the ADI here. So you could bring up the terrain and that sort of thing. So here's the weather. We can check all those types of things down here. So data, whatever. Set up how you like it on there. Okay. Train. Weather radar switch off. Left VHS comms panel check. Again, you would just verify that all these things are the way you would expect them to be. Transponder check. Okay. ILS check. We can test it if we wanted to. We can bring this guy, move it out of there. Test. Okay. And then just pop it back down into the opposition. APU fire switches in, right? VHF comm panel check. Okay, so all those will be set to the right frequencies and such. Alright, pre-flight controlling, pre-flight not controlling, VOR DME switch should be in the auto position, which it is. Okay, let's cancel that. Alright. Yep, it is. Alright, so this is where, again, it's being. Alright, fine, then you do it. But you've pressed it into the non-auto position. Okay. Flight director switch on. Yeah, sometimes these checklists are just a little goofy. We'll do the auto throttle arm, bank limit selector check. We're going to leave it in auto. Alright, well that's obviously already done. Attitude indicator caging pull. That is right here. Well, come on. There it goes. Alternate stabilizer trim switch is checked. Verify that these actually work and doing what we want them to do. Spree brake lever, all that stuff is in the proper position. Flat lever check. And fuel control, fire warning lights, nothing. Cool. Alright, so now we're on to the before start procedure. And at this point, we'll go ahead and collapse these amplify. That's what I normally do anyway. So now we'll go back and just run the normal checklist just to make sure we've got everything. Now you wouldn't obviously do this twice. You'd really just have this short checklist and everything else with flows and other types of things. But we'll hit these just to make sure it's right. Fuel, check. We did it. Alright, Windows lock. MCP is set. Let's just say that our top altitude coming off of whatever departure is 6,000. We'll do heading, whatever the runway heading is. Could be, in this case, 180 or slightly off. We'll just put 180. 132 is fine. That's our V2 speed. We'll leave that there. So MCP is set. Takeoff thrust check. So make sure that the proper thrust. Okay, so that's going to be this little caret right here. Derated takeoff is going to be the thrust that we want. So that's good to know. Takeoff speeds checked. We've looked at those. See pre-flight complete. Early trim set. Taxi takeoff briefing. So that's complete. and the red anti-collision light because we're about to start up. Well, come on. Alright, so now we can close up shop. Airplane, close all. Now before I pull the GPU, I want to make sure that we're actually pulling power from the APU. Okay, so it's in this aircraft, it's going to select this external power for as long as it can, even though the APU is running. So we have to actually deselect it, so now that we're on the APU generator, that's our AC power. Otherwise, if I pulled the GPU, we'd get some tripped bus ties and things like that, which we don't want. Alright, so we'll be able to pull the stairs and chocks, and we don't need the GPU, the fuel truck, or the loader unit anymore. We'll make sure that we're all closed up on the outside, which we are, and we'll use better pushback today to get us pushed back here. We'll just come out to this line. Something like that will be fine for today. Oops, that's not what I wanted. This is where I wanted to be. Yeah, so we'll just come out somewhere like right about there. Oops, I hit the wrong button. Bear with me here. Hit enter too early. I need to first actually drop the spot. There we go.
Ground to cockpit, plan acknowledged. Call me through the menu when you are ready.
Alright, well, I'm ready. So let's go ahead and go to ground and start.
Ground to cockpit, tow is driving up.
So we're all set up here. There comes the tow. And again, this will just be kind of my flow, how I do it on this aircraft. Again, nothing particular to any airline, certainly not FedEx, or anybody else for that matter. This is just my methodology, but it seems to be a good one, and yeah, so hope this helps. So once they hook up here, well, actually, we'll go ahead and get the okay to pressurize the hydraulics, so we would have already done that just recently, and we'll do the same thing with the fuel pumps. We just need these guys on, nothing in the center tank, but we need to...
Okay, all doors and hatches are closed, ready to connect.
Alright, so they're going to capture it. As you can see, we've got duct pressure now, the APU's driving that, these sorts of things, so AC is on, packs are working. Yep, there we go, rising up. Which is really what happens on some tugs.
Tow connected and bypass pin inserted. Release parking brake.
Alright, so brakes released, play to push.
Starting pushback, and you may start engines.
Alright, so we're good to start the engines. They said that's okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to come and turn the packs to off. That'll give us the maximum amount of bleed air that we need to actually turn the starter turbine. So we'll start 1 and then 2. So we'll come to ground here, and then we will watch, in this case in 3. When it gets to about 20-30%, about 30%, we'll go ahead and introduce fuel to the rich line. That will allow combustion to start actually going on inside the engine. Right now we're just turning it with the starter turbine. Alright, so right about there we'll go to rich. You'll see it rise more. We'd also be watching EGT. It's not supposed to pass this line. We don't want to burn our engine up with a hot start. That's why it's important not to throw fuel too early, or you'll get a hot start. the real world, you can get those if you're just faced into a bad tailwind or something like that as well. Looking for hot starts, hung starts. Alright, looks like we're pretty much stabilized on that engine, so we can go to the run position. Yep, N1 will continue to rise. Engine pressure issues coming up. This guy. We would have said this before we came out of the spot. RTO. Alright, and we'll just go ahead.
Operation complete. Go ahead and set the parking brake.
Alright, brakes are set.
Disconnecting tow. Stand by.
So we'll go ahead and start 2. Some airlines taxi on one engine. That's pretty common, taxi out on one engine, start up the second one when you get a little closer. But we'll go ahead and start 2 now, just for the sake of demonstration. So go ahead and get that guy going. So same thing, looking for N3 to get to about 30%. We'll go to the rich detent on the fuel. Right in there, that's good. Rich. Everything looks good, no hot start. There's the generator swap. Looks good. And we'll go ahead and go to the run position. See that the red line moved off now that we're going to the run position, so that's no longer classified as a hot start on that engine anymore. I would have to go up to the higher red line. But mind your limits. Limits are important. Let me go ahead and pull this guy up too. This one already been pulled up. Alright. Alright, we'll give them the hand signal that we're good. So now at the flaps, and we make sure we would have set this trim to most likely before we left the spot, but I didn't have the hydraulics pressurized until a little bit late, so we'll go ahead and set it now. 3.6, that's about right there. Alright, good deal. So now that's started, so we'll go ahead and put the APUs.
Tow is disconnected and bypass bin has been removed. Hand signal on the right. We'll see you next time, and have a safe flight.
Back to auto here. I'm just personal preference, I like this in the on position. Back to auto here, and we'll go ahead and kill the APU. Now it's got a little bit of a cooldown going there, so if we come back to the status page, for instance, you'll see it's still at 100. That's okay. It will eventually shut off, but I could go to run right now and bring it back without before it ever actually completely shut down. So. We'll make sure that the checklist, anti-ice is required, we don't need it. Oh yeah, we do need to deselect the isolation valve. We don't need that anymore because we've got both engines supplying bleed air. Recall, that's this guy right here. Make sure we don't have anything there that's showing up. If I canceled those messages and I recalled them, they'd come back up. So we just hit recall to make sure that I haven't accidentally cleared out any messages that I do need to see. Auto brakes RTO, we would have caught that mistake there. Ground equipment is clear, and we can get the taxi and turn off, which are... Oops, I didn't do a very good job of moving somewhere where you could see those. Oops, right there. Alright, and then we could release the brakes, taxi out, call ramp to get the good to go, and find out where we're heading, and then we go to ground and eventually tower and take off. Yep, you can see now. That's my indication that we have started to have the APU spool down. Yep, spooling down. Alright, I'll go ahead and stop right here. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope this was helpful. I know the Rolls is a little bit more difficult than the Pratt & Whitney or the engines to start, so I thought I'd make a little video and talk about how to do it. So I hope this was helpful. If you have anything that you want to add or request, go ahead and feel free to leave that in the comments. And like I said, hopefully get some more content out to you soon. Alright, thanks guys.